Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source, quality, affordable land, this time in the state of Arizona. Yes, people, we are back in the Grand Canyon State this week with another one of these large, sprawling pieces of property that we really like, that our buyers tend to like, particularly those who are looking for a lot of privacy, looking to develop their own sort of mini ranch. This property also benefits, of course, from the fact that it is what we like to call hunting adjacent, which is to say it is close to not one, not two, but three national forests out there. Additionally, it is a stone's throw from about 24 national parks, national monuments, federally protected areas, etc., not least of which is the Grand Canyon, and of course pretty close to some major Arizona towns that everybody's heard of, all within relatively close proximity of the property. Additionally, it has all that going for it, as well as what you see here in the headline, which is that it is a pre-staked property and it has community well access. That, of course, translates to two big savings. Number one, pre-staked means that it's been surveyed, it's been staked, there are property boundary markers out there, and when you get into a property as large as this one, of course, when that's been done for you, that's a big deal. That's a big savings to you, number one. Number two, the community well, of course, means that you will not have to drill a well out here at this property. You will have access to the community well, which is particularly good if you do end up using the property recreationally or seasonally. You're not out there all the time. You don't want to dump a bunch of money into getting a well drilled. Well, you won't have to worry about that. Anyway, that plus a whole bunch of other things to discuss in today's video. Let's get to it, guys. This is reference number YVAZ-4097, located in Yavapai County, Arizona. This one is specifically in the Sierra Verde Ranch, and it is just a scooch under 40 acres, 39.5 to be exact. As you no doubt saw up top, guys, we have this priced at $39,000. That is roughly about $1,000 an acre, which is a pretty good deal in this region. Anyway, let's pull this up on a map, acclimate you guys, show you exactly where it is. Down here on the listing page, like with all of our listing pages, we've got GPS coordinates, 4 corner points in the center. Click any one of them, and voila, Arizona shall appear on the map. So first off, guys, I always like to start wide. I like to start wide to acclimate everybody to exactly where this is. Those not intimately familiar with the geography of Arizona know Phoenix. This property is about 3 hours north of Phoenix, so not terribly close. That being said, it is up here in Yavapai County, which is roughly the center of the state, northern part of the county, where the county sort of ends right here along the I-40 corridor. Nonetheless, within the I-40 corridor, the property is roughly about 5 minutes south of Seligman, number one, and number two, it's about an hour east of Kingman and about an hour west of Flagstaff over here. I'm naming those towns. We got Williams, we got Ash Fork in between, but I'm naming those towns because those are where the biggest sort of concentrations of populations are, and hence the Walmarts, the Home Depots. Everybody likes to call and ask about those things. Where are the major, building supply stores, restaurants, things like that? You got a little bit of that up here in Seligman, but you don't have Walmarts. Those are out here. Done shilling for Walmart. Let me move on, guys. Also within close proximity, you've got a whole lot to like about this region. Number one, if you're a hunter, you've got the Coconino National Forest out here. This is roughly about 1.8 million acres of trails and parks and picnic areas and camping areas, and of course places that you can hunt. You've got the Kaibab National Forest up here, which despite looking markedly smaller than this one is only about 1.6 million acres. Somehow it takes up all that area. And then of course you've got this one down here, the Prescott National Forest. This one probably closest to the subject property. This one, 1.2 million acres. So, whole bunch of places to hunt. And, of course, what's out here? Elk, antelope, mule deer, white-tailed deer, bears, anything on 4 legs. I'm sure you can get a permit to kill it. Anyway, additionally, guys, in close proximity to the subject property, as I mentioned earlier, a whole bunch of attractions. Obviously, you get the Grand Canyon up here, roughly about an hour north of the subject property. And with that, you've got, well, you know what, guys? I got to tell you, here on the listing page, we've got points of interest. And this is just a small sampling of everything that's out here. Lake Powell, Glen Canyon, Arizona Snow Bowl, place to go skiing, of course. You're in a part of Arizona where you get seasons, so skiing is right around the corner. The Wapatki National Monument, Sunset Crater, Walnut Canyon, so on and so forth. And this list up here doesn't even include things like Mormon Lake, Montezuma Castle, Castle Rock, Red Rock Desert, so on and so forth. All of which are very, relatively close to subject property. So we've got links here to all their websites. If you're not familiar with any of these places, if you want to learn more, just click the links. It'll take you to their respective websites. Anyway, back to the property, guys. So As noted, this one's in the Sierra Verde Ranch. Sierra Verde Ranch, if I zoom in on the map, I would like to tell you that it's kind of carved out. You could kind of see where it starts and ends. That, however, is false. It is such a large, sprawling ranch of so many thousands of acres, it's difficult to define here on the map. There's a lot of, but you know what, guys? Basically, it's like this. It's a lot of this area right here, some over here, some just a little bit north of the 40, so on and so forth. This specific property, if we zoom in on the map, sits right here off of a road. It's called Williamson Valley Road that leads down from the 40. So you've got easy access to the highway up here, easy access to Seligman. You know, I'm sorry, let me just back up for a second. I was talking about Flagstaff earlier, and I was talking about these towns. If you zoom in on the map, this is what you've got nearby in Seligman. You've got some grocery stores out here. You've got some convenience stores, things like Family Dollar. There's a school out here if you got kids and you're going to, you know, start to raise a family out here on this land. School is none too far away. Shockingly, there's the Seligman Airport out here. I'm guessing it's a private airport, small aircraft, things like that. I doubt it's international, but nonetheless, that's out there. So some places to eat, some places to shop. Of course, the big ones are about an hour away in Flagstaff or in Kingman, respectively. All right, now back to the property, guys. So we're banging a left here off the 40, going down here along the 5. Williamson Valley Road leads us out to, let me see if I can find it here on the map. Well, this is the road right here that turns off to the subject property. I would love to tell you this road has a name. According to every map I looked at, it doesn't. Whatever the case, Williamson Valley is one of the major roads going through this region. And a couple things, guys. If we go to the photo gallery here, we've got first off a demonstration of the footprint of the property, size, shape, location. These are the roughly 40 acres that you would be purchasing. This is that Williamson Valley Road. This is the unnamed road. And in case you think we're making up geometric shapes, we are not, guys. We've got a plat map right here, 39.5 acres, Sierra Verde Ranch, Unit 3. This is the subject property right here. Anyway, let me get into some property photos just to give you guys a sense. So first off, we got some pretty well-maintained road right here, Williamson Valley Road. You know, well-maintained dirt, gravel. Any type of vehicle is going to be able to get up and down this thing. Most likely, again, it's a part of Arizona where you got seasons. So as always, guys, we recommend a larger truck, off-road capable vehicle, particularly when you make this turn over here and you go down the unnamed road. This one looks like, you know, a little less maintenance goes on there, but nonetheless, still probably pretty easy to drive. For the record, guys, we've got a sign right here at this corner. Warning, fiber optic cable being laid. If you go to the map, if you look at this, if you look at these photos, you don't see a lot of utilities out here. You don't see a lot of power lines, things like that. So I don't know what fiber optic cables are out here. It suggests there's some development going on in the region, but, you know, development as far as utilities. But I don't see a lot of evidence of it on the map. So just, you know, FYI. Anyway, as we go through this, this is the road frontage along the southern boundary of the property. You got about 800 feet of road frontage along the southern boundary. And, I mean, the first thing that jumps out at you here with the photos is, number one, it's a really pretty area. And number two, the property has kind of a slope to it. As my photographer explained, it slopes up from the road up to the, well, the back end of the property, the north end of the property, where it sort of plateaus. So if you do end up developing the land out here, up here at the north end of the property is probably the best spot. It's probably where you've got the best views. But you got 40 acres to play with, so we'll let you figure that out. Anyway, more of the road out here, and then we start to get into the property boundary markers that exist on the property. As noted, it's 40 acres. Our photographer didn't walk the whole thing, but when you see these markers, when you see these survey pins, that's always a good sign. It means, again, you won't have to pay for that. And finally, guys, just want to point out to you, there's this, we're calling it path of seasonal water flow that exists down here along the southern portion of the property. I would like to tell you that if we go back to the map, you can kind of see a little bit of it right here. Nonetheless, this is down here, so you might, during rain or during heavy rain, you might have some water flowing through the southern portion of the property. Some people like that sort of thing. I can understand if you don't, but nonetheless, that exists out there, so we want to show it to you. And here's more evidence of that. And again, this is that seasonal path of seasonal water flow cutting here just below this tree. Anyway, as we go through the properties, the photos has become a little visually redundant. As you can see, it's very nice land, but you got some trees, you got some cacti out here. No power at the lot line. Nearest power, it should be noted, guys, from the subject property is roughly about, I think it's 1.3 miles north. These developed, we're going to say developed home sites, quote unquote, that you see here and here. This is where the nearest power is. You can see a utility easement that sort of ends right here if you really scrutinize the map. Point being, they are roughly about 1.3 miles north of the subject property, so probably not something that you're going to pay to get extended. Unless you got a lot of money to spend on that, you can try, but I would anticipate most people should investigate alternative forms of energy such as solar, such as wind power, etc. And by the way, if you zoom in on some of these other developed home sites like this one down here, you won't find power lines out here. So that spot up north closer to the highway seems to be where they end, at least within this region. But as noted, it's a massive subdivision. So they're, generally speaking, they're closer to the highway. Point being, 1.3 miles north of the subject property, so you're probably going to have to rely on solar. As we go through the rest of these photos, guys, let me introduce a couple things to you. Number one, this property with its community well in the Sierra Verde Ranch is part of a property owners association. Now, before you turn the video off, let me say that I don't like POAs either because they're hard to sell land in. So generally speaking, before we buy a property in a POA, I like to look at the rules, I like to look at the covenants, the restrictions, the annual dues, so on and so forth. And I like to see if the average buyer would react to this as in those are too strict, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to pay that, etc. And if I find the thing to be generally pretty reasonable, I go with the purchase. So if we're offering you land in something that does have a property owners association associated with it, you can be certain that it's something that at the very least I consider pretty reasonable. Now, I will return to that topic in just a bit. Let me say this, guys. As you get to the end of the photo gallery, of course, as always, we've got the drone overlay photos here. They give you a sense of the footprint of the property, the terrain, size, shape, location, the surroundings, etc. This is that, arroyo, path of seasonal water flow, we'll say, down here at the southern boundary of the property. This gives you a better sense of that. So you can look through the drone photos. You can look through the drone video that we're going to have down here at the bottom of the page. Again, it'll give you a better sense of the surroundings and the terrain. Returning to the topic of property owners associations, up here with under the property specific notes, we have some mention of this. So first off, as noted, Sierra Verde Ranch Property Owners Association. This is a formal POA governed by Vision Community Management, which is a company out there in Arizona that seems to have a number of developments throughout the state. Whatever the case, if you click on this link, it's going to take you to their website. You want to learn more about this. This is the best way to do it. Go to the website. They've got some contact information here, people you can call, people you can talk to. This is the phone number down here. We reiterated it on the listing page in case you have questions that are not answered here, which most likely you will, because there's only a finite amount of research we can do on these things. Whatever the case, this is a link to their website. And the next paragraph on this page, hello, clicking around too much, guys. The next paragraph on this page talks about covenants and restrictions. So these are what we like to term common sense, good neighbor restrictions. And if you click this link, it's going to take you to a copy of these things. Hang on, there we go, there they are. Now, let me walk you through these briefly. First off, this is about 4 pages with a pretty big font, okay? So there's not a lot of restrictions here. Property should be used for residential and recreational purposes, not for business. No medical facilities, no churches or clubs. Okay, okay. This one's about setbacks. This one's about easements. This one, vehicles. Any motor vehicle under repair or inoperable may not be parked on any roadway. Okay, well, that seems, all right, that seems reasonable. When parked on a parcel, such motor vehicle must be hidden by what? Basically, that's their way of saying, don't park a junkyard of cars on the land. It looks terrible. We don't want it, okay? So if that's your intention, don't buy this property. But if you'd like to live in a region where the beauty of the area is preserved and your neighbor isn't parking a junkyard next to you, that's a good sign, okay? Additionally, guys, they have some notes here about livestock. You get the obligatory note here about nuisances. What is not articulated in these covenants and restrictions is anything about RV usage, anything certainly about tiny homes. These covenants sort of predate that trend. Minimum square footage is not indicated in here. Mobile and modular homes, nothing is indicated about that in here. So on and so forth. So there's a lot of typical questions that we get from buyers that are simply not indicated in these covenants and restrictions, which is where you normally go for those answers. So that's the kind of thing that if you are curious about that, particularly if you are going to use the property, let's say seasonally or recreationally, you're going to go out there and RV for a period of time, that might be a good question to direct to the Property Owners Association. I will tell you guys that this region is zoned RCU. This is at least what comes up in the Yavapai County GIS. And perhaps you're saying, hey, Hemingway, what's an RCU district? Well, here's the thing. You can read this 3-page PDF, which is an excerpt from the zoning ordinance. It doesn't really give you a strong sense of what you can and cannot do out here. It has some notes about RV usage. things like that. But ultimately, guys, if that is your intention, I'd recommend calling the county and talking to them. Typically, when you find property in a POA like this, it's usually the POA that makes the rules. That's usually the entity you're answering to, much more so than the county per se. So I'd reach out to the county. Maybe you want to confirm some details or I'd reach out to the POA. Maybe you want to confirm some details with the county. But honestly, guys, it's 40 acres in a pretty, let's say, private, which is another way of saying remote, little remote area. Doesn't look like there's a lot of development out here. Doesn't look like there's a lot of people who, if you did do something wrong, would be able to find it, see it, report it type of thing. And additionally, 40 acres is a lot of land that you got to play with. So if you do park an RV on it, I doubt anybody's going to make much of a fuss about it, particularly because it's not enumerated in those covenants. Whatever the case, according to the county, this is how it's zoned. They have some notations about RVs and travel trailers. You may want to familiarize yourself with them. Now, additionally, guys, let's go back to this thing about community wells. So this bullet point deals with this, and the names of these wells are the Anvil Rock Well and the Jolly Well. They have names. These names are based on the roads which you can access them from the highway. So if we pull back just a little bit here, this Williamson Valley Road, no well on that one, but if we go over here, oh, I'm going to do my best to find this thing. I think it's not that one, guys. It's this one over here. Well, trust me, it's about 10 miles west is the point, okay? About 10 miles west is where you find Anvil Rock Road over here off the 40. I couldn't find the other one, the Jolly Road, but nonetheless, these wells are within relatively close proximity. And, of course, on this page right here under this information, if you click this link, it'll take you to the part of the Sierra Verde Ranch website where it deals specifically with the wells. And it tells you everything that you need to know. Basically, as long as you're a member in good standing, which is to say that you're paying the annual dues on time, you can have access to the wells. And this gives you a little bit of a sense of how that works. Basically, you email them. The VP of Wells will contact you. And then you just have to provide some proof of ownership, which is to say a deed. Proof of water hauling system, a trailer or truck, something you can get water from point A to point B. And you'll be required to read, understand, and sign these things right here, including the well rules and regulations. If you click on that, it'll bring up this thing. Again, this mostly just reiterates what we just talked about. Be in good standing, have a generator, water hauling. You can't sell the water to, outside entities. It's just for people who live in the community, things like that. But pretty easy to digest, pretty easy to understand, and pretty easy, I would imagine, to abide by. Anywho, more information here about the wells, about water quality reports, things like that, can be found on the website. So this is an excellent resource. They've got a pretty good website as far as property owners associations go. Some of them not so much. Some of them barely have a Facebook page. But this one's pretty detailed, and there's a lot of good research that you can do here. Anywho, guys, it should be noted that while we're talking about water, some of you guys may be down for the community wells. Some of you may want to drill your own well. As always, we like to point out some things about utilities. Number one, when it comes to water, the Arizona Department of Water Resources is the government entity responsible for permitting wells and water rights within the state. Click this link. It'll take you to their website where you can learn more about them, the services they provide, and you can get sort of a directory of well drillers within the region who can probably speak to you better about the cost, the logistics involved in actually getting a well drilled. Additionally, guys, on the page we also have links to the local APS, Arizona Public Services, the utility company servicing this region. As noted, if you're building out here 1.3 miles from power, you're probably not paying the power company to run a bunch of, lines, run a bunch of poles out to the property. But if you do elect to do that, you can call these people. You can talk to them about it. Again, cost and logistics will be discussed there. And finally, guys, also want to point out to you here on this page, we've got some notations. If you are a hunter, if you are looking for property that you can use as either, a base camp, you and the guys wake up in the morning, everybody goes their separate directions, meets back up at night, place you can build a hunting cabin or just use as a sort of seasonally, 3 months of the year we go and we camp there, whatever. You will probably want to get a hunting license permitted within the state. So if you click this link right here, it'll take you to the AZGFD, the Game and Fish Department, where you can read and learn more about that, about buying a license, so on and so forth. As noted, guys, 3 major national forests in close proximity: Prescott, Coconino, and Kaibub. Anyway, with all that said, guys, if this is a property that you're interested in purchasing, you should know that we got this one insured through Yavapai Title Agency, which means that we got title insurance with it, which means we will be providing you with a warranty deed for the property. So if you come up here, click the Buy Now button, it'll take you to I just realized it's the one thing I don't have queued up. If you click the Buy Now button, it'll take you to this secure checkout page where we ask you to put down a non-refundable, people, let me say it again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit that will count toward the purchase price of the property. Whatever the case, you put that down, you enter name, tax address, so on and so forth, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the very next page, you can enter credit or debit card information to purchase the property. That down payment, of course, within 24 hours, we're going to get you a contract, a sale purchase agreement. You sign it, we sign it, and we will submit it to a title company. Guys, let me be clear. When we get into this price range, I encourage buyers to close through a title company. If you do not want to do that, that's fine with us. He with the gold makes the rules. But again, you're encouraged to do it because it provides a lot of good things, a lot of safeguards for you, a lot of peace of mind, because you're not handing somebody on the internet roughly $40,000. Okay? Hand it to a third-party intermediary. They draft up all the documentation. They convey the land, and they do not release your money to us until such a time as we have signed the deed and transferred the property over to you. A lot of benefits to that. Now, in case I went too quickly, guys, we got a page on our website. It's called Buying From Us. How it works. How it works, buying from us. And if you come down here to this price range of anything over $10,000, it will reiterate these steps that I talk about. It goes in a little more detail, but basically you put down the money, we draft a contract, we sign it, you sign it, we submit it to escrow, and they do the rest, albeit slowly over the course of roughly the next month. At the end of that process is when they ask for the remaining funds, in this case, $38,500. Anyway, if you'd like to see a copy of what one of these contracts looks like, guys, just click this link. It'll take you to a generic version of one of our standard contracts. One page for signatures. You got a lawyer in the family, let him look it over, be our guest. But it's pretty self-explanatory. And additionally, guys, if you have any questions about the title escrow process, if I am going too fast, if you are unfamiliar, if you have never done it before, click this link down here or go to the page on our website entitled Title Escrow Frequently Asked Questions. And this will provide a bunch of helpful answers to every question anybody has ever asked us about the title escrow process. I think you'll find it will answer all of your questions. Anyway, guys, before I conclude the video, I just want to say that I neglected to mention the annual dues with this Property Owners Association out there. That's my bad. Point being, they are $130.35. And in case you're saying, hey, Hemingway, what's the deal with that goofy number? Well, apparently, it's some kind of formula of $3.35. I think that's what it is. $3.35 per acre. From what I have seen, every property in this subdivision is basically 40 acres. I'm not sure why they don't have a flat rate. I'm not sure why it's per acre. But there you go. So it shakes out to like $130 annually, which is nothing bad, particularly with the type of road maintenance that you've got out there, number one. And number two, the aforementioned community wells. So I think this one's a good deal. I think it's in a great location. I hope you guys agree. If you got any questions, shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or people, leave a comment here on the YouTube channel. Anyway, thanks as always for your attention spans. Much appreciated, and we will see you in the next video.